Okay, come on out. I know you're up here somewhere. I know you're up. Oh, there you are. Okay then. I knew you were up here. Good thing I always keep this flashlight handy, isn't it? Hey, welcome back to the Masked Fan Attic, Masked Fan Addicts. Tonight's mask, by the way, this is the Masked Fan Attic, where we look for cool and interesting old Halloween masks, in case you didn't already figure that part out. Tonight's mask is a really old one, going all the way back to the year 1982, I believe. 81, 82, somewhere in there. I'm going to go with 82 because sources conflict. Records are hard to nail down on this sort of thing, but that's very old in mask years. That's a real antique. And this little guy here, which I've had ever since 1982, when dinosaurs walked the earth and the president was John Quincy Adams. Yeah, it was real different back then. This is none other than the late Mr. Bates. That's the name of it, the late Mr. Bates. And I always thought he was really cool and creepy and dramatic, and today's sculptors might look on this one and think, it kind of looks like clay, but it's very effective that way, I think. It looks like genuine rotted meat to me. And here's a clue if you didn't figure it out from the name, the late Mr. Bates. It was fashioned as sort of a what-if mask. It was kind of a husband for Mrs. Bates, the rotted skeleton in the chair in the original 1960 Psycho. Frank Kaufman of Crypt Creations designed and created this guy as a sort of, what if she had a husband? What if there had been a Mr. Bates rotting on the hotel, or motel rather, premises somewhere? Maybe he would have looked a bit like this. Now, as you can probably tell, Frank Kaufman's mask, the late Mr. Bates, is a latex half mask with a fur piece in the back. Sort of, I always refer to that as the Be Something style, because it's the style that Be Something Studios sort of pioneered and perfected and made an industry standard way back in the late 70s. I call that the Be Something style, but maybe you don't. Maybe you call it a half mask with a fur back. That's fine too. But Frank Kaufman's Crypt Creations were frequently made in this style, although he did do a few full heads. Frank Kaufman did tons of masks, actually, over the years, for many years, as Crypt Creations, and then later as simply The Crypt. His masks were carried by a company called Foothills Limited for a few years, who made great Dracula capes and other fun stuff. But I liked Frank Kaufman's masks. They're a little bit simplified, and some people think, oh, they're crude, and some collectors aren't that keen on them. But you know, they always had a lot of character, a lot of impact. They didn't have the extreme attention to small details that some of today's masks do, but they were very effective. They were scary, and they were fun, and like that, you know? And this one was, well, he was a mainstay back in the day, because I used to put on live action haunted houses where people actually would jump out at you wearing a mask, and this guy got quite a workout, because he's a really good one to wear, because between the light hair and the angry expression and the big open mouth and the big teeth, he really has a lot of effect in a dark situation. If you only see him for a couple of seconds, you immediately see enough of him to be horrified and scared, and that's what we like in our zombies. You can see where this is, where his eye holes are cut out, which is up there at the top of the sockets. Very creepy when you're wearing it, because you just see a little bit of eye movement up in there. But I used to have a lot of Frank Kaufman's Crypt Creations masks. I wish I still did. I ended up selling a lot of them in times of poverty, which my fellow collectors will be familiar with that situation, I expect. But still have this old late Mr. Bates after all these years. Some of Frank Kaufman's masks were similar in design to this one. Looked like relatives of this guy. He had a great zombie called Rick R. Mortis that was used in a horror movie back in the day. I don't know that this one was ever used in a movie. I've never seen it in a movie, although it was common to see artist masks in movies back then that took place on Halloween or had party scenes, you know, Halloween parties, masquerade parties. Very often they would buy, and to some extent still do, just buy masks off the shelves and put them in the movie. So this guy might have turned up in something back then. because a number of Frank Kaufman's masks did, but I don't remember seeing this one. A friend of mine thought he spotted it in a movie some years ago, but I don't know. The rumors are unconfirmed at this point. I don't believe I have ever seen a movie that had this mask in it. But that's a shame, because it's a great mask. I don't know if Mr. Kaufman is still in business. I liked a lot of his masks. He had a nice generic Frankenstein and a nice generic Dracula. I had a great full head lizard mask that he did for a while, but I don't know if he's still in the mask business or not anymore. He might still be making a few of these things, but they certainly won't be as old as this one. I don't know that this is worth a lot of money either. It's just one that I always especially liked and thought it was really cool and scary, and it kind of looks like something out of a zombie movie rather than you know, the more sophisticated anatomy that they go for today. This looks like something out of an old movie when the zombies were more like just about scaring you rather than dazzling you with their knowledge of anatomy of the teeth or something, when they were just plain scary. And this guy fills the bill, I think. So if you happen to see one turn up on eBay or someplace like that, goodness gracious me, you want to add it to the collection, because it's a great scary little mask. The late Mr. Bates. And now it's time to say goodbye to the late Mr. Bates and the late Dr. Lady. So goodbye.